Welcome to How to Cook That. I'm Reardon and today we're making a cute and easy penguin cake. This one is modelled on Private from the penguins of Madagascar, but you could use it for the base of a club penguins cake or even a pingu cake if you like. Firstly, cut out your template and you can get that on the website howtocookthat.net and I'll link to that below. Fold in his flippers and then line up the red circle with the circle of your cake. Then trim off the sides of the cake following your template. And you can use the sponge cake recipe for this or the chocolate cake, red velvet cake. There are plenty of recipes on the website that you can choose from. You just need 2 round cakes. Take your other cake and place the template over the top, lining up the top of his head with one edge of the cake. Now cut down the sides and then around the top of his head and down the other side. Now take a toothpick and poke it through the red line so that you know where to cut once you take the template off. Remove the template and cut around following those dots that you just made. Now place that headpiece onto the body of your penguin. Take your 2 side offcuts and place them on top, and you'll need to trim the base of one of those so that it sits flat on your cake because it's kind of a funny shape there. Then take the other offcut and cut it into 2 pieces and place them on top on either side so that you get a nice rounded penguin tummy. Make a batch of the basic buttercream, and I've got a video to show you how to do that on the How to Cook That website or on the How to Cook That YouTube channel, either one, whichever one you can find easier. Spread a small amount of your frosting onto your cake board or a plate just to stop the cake from moving around. Then add the body part of your penguin down near the base of your cake board, and then add some frosting around the top there so that you can join the head on. Place that headpiece into place and kind of squash it down. Then cover the tummy in frosting and add your offcuts, making sure you put frosting between each one on one side so that they stay together, a bit like when you're making garlic bread. Now take your side template and fold down the beak and carve the penguin head and body along that template. Now the neck part of the cake will be too low, but we'll fix that in a minute. Then take the template away and round off the sides of the tummy so that you don't have square edges there. You want it to look nice and round like the top of a ball. And you can just shave off a little bit of cake at a time until you're happy with it. Then at the join where the tummy and the head join together, add some extra buttercream and some of the cake that you just cut off. Then use your template again just to get that side profile right. Then cover the whole thing in a layer of buttercream. Smooth it off as best as you can and then use your spatula to clean up the cake board. To get a rounded cake really smooth, I like to use some flexible plastic, make it into a curve and just drag it up and over the cake. And you can do that just up and over from each side of the penguin to get it really nice and smooth. And then place that in the fridge. Now to make our fondant details. For the eyeballs, you want to roll a ball of white and then cut it in half. And the reason we do it like that is so you get 2 even pieces exactly the same size. Then roll that into a ball and you want them to be the size shown on the template. So just check it there, and if it's the right size, great. If not, just take some off or add some on and re-roll it. Now roll out some blue. If you find that your fondant is sticking to the rolling pin, just spray it with a little bit of spray oil and rub it onto the rolling pin. And you want this blue fondant to be really thin because we don't want it bulging on his eyeball. Use a straw to cut out 2 round blue circles and then use a tiny bit of water to make it stick to the top of each eyeball. Then you want to roll really, really tiny balls of black fondant and add them to the centre of each eye. Now I'm going to use the back of my paintbrush here just to position it and to squash it down to make a flat circle. Next we want to roll a thin snake of white and break off a tiny small piece and then just add it to one side of the iris, and this just adds that little glint in the eye and it makes our penguin look more alive. Next, roll out a really thin rectangle of grey fondant. You want this to be as thin as you can get it, thin like paper. Then pick up your eyeball and starting at one end, wrap it around. When you get back around to the beginning there, just wrap it down and then pinch it together at the base and twist off any excess grey. And repeat that on your other eye. And this just makes like an eyelid for the eye, and it also defines and outlines the eye so that when we're putting it onto a white penguin, we don't just lose the eye. For our penguin's feet, roll out some orangey brown, and this time we want it nice and thick, and then use your template to cut them out. For the beak, take a ball of fondant and use your thumb and fingers to start to squash it down on the sides to make it into the shape on the template. Once it's roughly there, pick it up and then use your two thumbs at the same time to make two indents on the top so that you're making the middle part come up and then it's coming down where your thumbs are, and then round off the corners. So from the top it looks a bit like a triangle, and from the side it looks like a smile. Line it up with your template again and trim it off to size if it's too big, and then just smooth that around there. Then make an indent or make it a bit flatter at the base of the beak there in the middle. Rest it on something rounded because our cake's a little bit rounded, and then use a knife to make an indent following the shape of the beak that you have just made so it looks like the beak can actually open. Now take some orange powdered food colouring and using a dry paintbrush just brush some on the underneath of the beak and in the indents on the top of the beak. This just gives it a more defined 3D sort of a look. Now it's time to cover our cake. Roll out a really long rectangle of black fondant, and you don't want this to be too thick. And then starting at one side, wrap it up and around and just smooth it over the top, just where it naturally falls there. And smooth it round and cut off the excess with your pizza cutter. Trim it off and then add the rest of that strip down the other side. Use your hands to smooth that down and trim it off at the base with the pizza cutter. Now where it joins to the buttercream, just push it down slightly so that it's level with your buttercream frosting. And this is so that when we add the white, we don't get a line or an indent where the black is. We don't want to see that indent, so we want it to be level with the rest of the cake. Then take a knife and flatten out the area where your beak is going to sit. Now roll out a big sheet of white fondant and cut around the template, making sure that you make it nice and smooth and rounded at the top there. Just use your finger to smooth it out. Peel your white fondant off the baking paper and position it on top of the cake so that you can still see some of the black all the way around, a bit like a hood, and then you've got the white like a face mask going down. Just pull that out and spread it around all the way down to the feet area, and just use your hands again to smooth it down and push it flat at the bottom using your finger, and then use a pizza cutter again just to trim off the excess. Push down and flatten out that beak area using your fingers, and then add the beak into place on a slight angle because that's how it goes with private. You can put it straight if you want it straight. Then decide on the position for the eyes. Just look at your template as a guide of where they go, and take something that's rounded and press it down to make the eye socket. Check the size of the hole, and if it's too small like this one, just put the thing back in and move it around and around to make the hole big enough for the eyeball so that it sits in like this, just in the hole, not all the way sunk into the head, but we want most of the grey eyelid being covered. Do the same for the other eyeball. And then roll a thick snake and trim it to make two short stumpy little legs. Use a little water on your finger and add them to the cake, and then add a little bit of water on the bottom and add your feet to the bottom of those. Now we want to make our flippers. Wasn't sure if they're called wings or flippers, but flippers apparently. Roll out some black fondant and cut around the template to make two of these. Add one of them, which is right close to the body there on the one side, on the left-hand side. Just add it on. That's nice and easy. And the other side, we want it to bend up like he's waving. Just smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. And while the fondant's still soft, you're going to add a little ball of paper under the wing there just to support it. That will probably only take about 20 minutes to be firm enough to hold itself. If you want your penguin to have a hat, then roll out some fondant in the colour of your choice and wrap it around an ice cream cone. Now I've trimmed this cone to make it a little bit shorter so that it's not a massive hat on his head, and you can do that too. Then just tuck the ends of the fondant into the cone. Roll a thin strip of another colour and make folds in that fondant so that you get some nice curves there. And once you've got enough for sort of a half circle, pinch it in at the base, place it down flat and add the cone on top of that. Now just do that again with the rest of the fondant, making more folds. Pinch it in so you've got the other half of a circle, and then just add the cone on top of that. Now roll a long snake of pink, wrap it around the base, and then wrap it around, circling up to the top of your hat. To finish off the top, just roll a ball and then add that on the top and indent it all over using a knife or a toothpick. Now decide where you want that to sit on his head. Do you want it right on top or off to one side? And then poke in 2 pieces of spaghetti to support the hat, and then place the hat on top of that. And there you have your finished penguin. If you'd also like to know how to make these cute little candy penguins, then head over to my kids channel at youtube.com/surprisekidsfun. They've been making little candy penguins over there, and I'll link to that video below as well. This cake was requested by Eve Hyams, Patricia Newen, Mia Minion Lover 12, Jean Young, Angelfly, 5 Perfection Girls, Crizzle Jezemiah, Nitya Narayanyan, Kimberly Grace, Yura Jimenez, Alison Good, Millie Moore, Tina Kaggle, and many, many more. Put all your requests in the comments below. Subscribe to How to Cook That for more cakes, chocolates and desserts. Click here for last week's video, here for all my other videos, and here for the website. Have a great week, and I'll see you on Friday.